Bavaria, March 1922. A farm so isolated, no one could see it from the road.
The Gruber family had lived here for generations. 6 people, completely alone. In the Bavarian winter.
Several weeks before the murders, Andreas Gruber noticed something in the snow. Footprints leading to the farmhouse, but not away from it.
They grew their own food, raised their own animals. They needed nothing from the outside world, and the outside world left them alone.
At night, the family heard sounds from the attic.
Footsteps too heavy for an animal.
Andreas believed someone was living above them while they slept.
Then a newspaper arrived that no one had ordered. Someone had been on this farm. Someone who did not belong here.
A key went missing from a lock, then reappeared in the wrong place. Andreas Gruber was a practical man, but even he was afraid.
He told his neighbors about the footprints, about the newspaper, about the sounds from the attic. No one came to help. On the night of March 31st, 1922, someone lured the family to the barn, one by one.
4 members of the family were killed in that barn. The maid and the youngest child inside the house. It was over, before anyone knew it had begun.
The next morning, the fireplace was tended. The animals were fed. 6 people lay dead and something was still living there. For 3 days after the murders, neighbors saw smoke from the chimney, saw light in the windows. One neighbor even waved.
The killer slept in the family's beds, ate their food from their plates. For 3 days, they lived as if the farm was their own.
Whoever did this was not afraid. They were not hiding. They were comfortable. In a farmhouse full of bodies.
On April 4th, 4 days after the murders, concerned neighbors finally came to check on the family. The chimney was cold, the windows were dark.
When they opened the barn door, they found 4 of the family members covered with hay. The killer had tried to bury them, but the ground was frozen solid.
Schlittenbauer knew this farm better than anyone. He knew every room, every routine, every lock. He had a history with this family, a history that gave him motive.
Police were called from Munich. Over 100 men were questioned. But someone at the scene was already interfering with the evidence.
His name was Lawrence Schlittenbauer, a neighbor who lived just yards from this farm. Witnesses watched him move through the barn, with the calm of someone who had been here before. Schlittenbauer had been involved with Victoria Gruber. He claimed her young son as his own child. Then Andreas Gruber intervened and ended it by force.
One day before the murders, Schlittenbauer buried his infant daughter. His child was in the ground, while the child he claimed as his own was still alive on that farm.
At the same time, Victoria had gone to court to claim more money from Schlittenbauer. He was being asked to pay more for a child he could no longer see. Police questioned Schlittenbauer multiple times. Witnesses said he was calm, unnervingly calm. He never once asked who they thought had done it.
He told the officer that the killer had tried to bury the bodies in the barn, but the frozen ground made it impossible. That detail had never been made public.
In 1925, Schlittenbauer was found visiting the demolished farm. When asked why he was there, he said something that stopped investigators cold.
Schlittenbauer was never charged. Instead, he went to court himself, suing neighbors who called him a murderer for slander, and he won every single time.
The village knew. They whispered the name among themselves. But in a small Bavarian community in 1922, accusing a neighbor of murder had consequences.
The murder weapon was a mattock, a common farm tool. Whoever used it knew exactly how to use it, because they used one every single day. Everything pointed to someone who knew the farm intimately, someone who lived close enough to watch and wait and choose the right moment.
Over 100 men were investigated. The case consumed Bavaria's best detectives for years. Then World War II came.
Evidence was lost, and the case went cold.
In 2007, the Furstenfeldbruck Police Academy reopened the case. A team of investigators reviewed every piece of surviving evidence with modern criminological techniques.
They reviewed the footprints, the newspaper, the attic sounds, the tampered evidence, the frozen ground detail. When they finished, the entire team agreed they had a name. But they never announced their conclusion. The name they agreed upon was sealed. The answer exists in a document that you are not allowed to read.
The attic is silent now. Whatever waited up there is long gone. But the question it left behind has never stopped echoing. Who was living above that family while they slept?
Andreas, Kazelia, Victoria, Joseph, Maria Gruber Baumgartner. 6 people who deserved answers that were never given to them.
Every year, thousands of people research this case. They follow the same trails, reach the same conclusions, and hit the same wall built not by the absence of an answer, but by the deliberate withholding of one. Schlittenbauer died in 1941. He never confessed. He never broke. He took whatever he knew into a Bavarian grave, and the ground accepted him without resistance.
The footprints led to the farm, but not away. Whoever made them was already inside before Andreas ever looked down and saw them. The answer to the Hinterkaifeck murders exists right now, in a building in Bavaria, in an envelope that no member of the public will ever be allowed to open. The farm is gone. The killer is gone. All that remains is the field, the wind, and the question Bavaria has carried for over a century.
The farm was demolished in 1923. The field was left empty. Today, if you visit that spot in Bavaria, there is nothing there, just flat land and wind. Someone walked to that farm and never walked away. For 100 years, that footprint has waited for a name. The name exists, it is just not yours to know.